G'day everyone, welcome to this edition of DURKO's Notebook, the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. It was a wet race and I'm sitting here in my laundry in the freezing Australian winter and it's pissing down rain outside too. Anyway, got a lot to talk about, so pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show. You wouldn't fucking read about it. Some years ago there was a lot of discussion around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit being taken off the calendar or replaced periodically as a biannual race, which I think was one of the most stupid decisions I've ever heard in describing or planning the future calendars for the F1 rounds. It is one of the best circuits out in my top three, and I believe with the challenge that it throws out there, I mean, it's obviously the longest circuit, but it's certainly challenging. And to have a circuit that has one corner that has no name, I think is iconic because they just can't name that corner. But it always throws out a great race. Maybe last night's wasn't the best I've seen in years of watching Spa, but it's certainly better than some other rubbish circuits that they go to. Now, I've always been critical of the sprint races, never really got into them over the last couple of years, but I think what we were witness to on Saturday was probably the best sprint race I've ever seen. It was just tight, good racing, and that's what we want to see. Now, my dickhead of the race award is going to go again to Lance Stroll. Why in the hell he didn't allow Hulkenberg to exit the pit when they're all queuing up in the fast lane of the pit during practice? Because Hulk has gone across the white line and got his front left wheel, tyre, I should say not the wheel, but the tyre itself, across the white line, which means he's then, in technical words, in accordance with FIA rules, he's now in the fast lane. But Stroll has gone, no, I'm going to take this position in front of you because we're all going at 1 kilometre an hour and I'm going to drive over the front of your car and break your front wing. The end plate snapped off. So then Hulk's pushed back in, loses time in qualifying, having to get his new nose fitted to the front of the Sauber. Now, both Hulk and Stroll were called to the stewards to explain themselves, but why Lance didn't get a penalty for it is just beyond me. It was just a stupid dickhead move, and, you know, what's he going to achieve if he's 1 car behind Hulk, in going 1k or 2k down the fast lane of towards the pit exit? He's not going to gain anything. Anyway, boggles the mind. Now we move on to the race. Now, yes, it was rather precipitous and it got a bit moist. It was a bit wet. Plenty of water on the circuit. But that circuit's been designed with runoff areas for the water to go into drains so that it just pisses off and it's gone. Now, we're going to ask the question, why does it take 80 minutes to start the race? Yes, bit of shower of rain. Yes, the water disappeared, and then let's go. Pirelli manufacture a wet tyre, but the teams decide not to use it because they say there's too much spray comes off it. But isn't the purpose of the wet tyre there to dry the circuit out and give you a dry line? Because how the hell Rui Marquez, as the race director, can sit there for 80 minutes and say, yep, no, delay, this is too dangerous. For all the years and decades gone past, they've had races in the wet. But now, all of a sudden, we've got to wrap everyone in cotton wool and say, no, sorry, you can't go out. There is some cloud cover. We worked out about 35 kilometres away. It's going to be a cloud that may come in this direction, so therefore we can't race. It's just become stupid, and why Mario Sola, the motorsport boss at Pirelli, can't come back after all these years when Michelin had a monsoon tyre, Bridgestone had a monsoon tyre. The French can make it, the Japanese can make it, but the Italians can't make a monsoon tyre, it seems. Or they don't want to. Or they don't want the teams to be able to have access to a monsoon tyre. Or the FIA don't want a monsoon tyre. For whatever reason, it's just becoming stupid that they've got to wait for a literally dry track before they go and race in any form. It is just beyond absolute ludicrous. Absolutely stupid. Why they can't do it. And obviously Max has had his say, and he reckons it's going to be the end of decent, challenging races if they can't go and race in the wet. And I've got to totally agree with Max. It's just becoming too much of a nanny state that they're just so overprotective of the drivers. Anyway, that's my whinge. Start. I've got to give it to Piastri. Like when he came up at Kemmel Straight there, he just owned Norris and just said to him, "See you later. I'm going around you." That's it. He was all over the back of him, like a cheap suit from turn 1 down through Rouge up through Radion, and then he just saw the Kemmel Straight and said, "That's it. See you later." Now, a couple of great moves I saw was obviously Hamilton on Lawson, because you couldn't have put a cigarette paper between those two cars, I don't think, as they come up the Kemmel Straight again. And I don't know how Lawson pulled that move off in that Ferrari, but I've got to give credit to Hamilton, I should say, for the move, because you got to give credit to Hamilton for that. He started in a shit position and then came back into the top 10, but it was actually Ferrari who made a strategy call that worked for them, which is a very rare event. About as rare as hen's teeth for them to actually make that strategy call that comes off, but it did work for them. And then Antonelli, he had a shit start. He's up the back of the grid. He's fighting with Ocon, and they come up the end of the Kemmel Straight this time. And they've had a good swapping of positions between themselves, going through the S's. And I think that was some great racing to see, because there wasn't a lot of it. The best racing was in the middle of the pack throughout the whole race. Overall, it was a decent race, but as I said, the midfield was where the real racing was at. And I've got to give credit to Piastri for tyre management. How the hell he kept those mediums and didn't chew them out with absolutely... The amount of deg that he had was incredible, that he didn't absolutely destroy the tyres until he got to about the last 2 laps, and he worked out how much grip he still had, and that's when he opened it, turned the tap on and said, right, I'm going to really go for this and keep Norris behind me, because maybe Norris's call to go into the hards was the wrong one, because he did struggle with a few turns and a few offs going through Pouhon. He was breached for track limits there, and there was a couple of times he was trying to hang on to that McLaren because there was no grip coming through the hards while the track surface was still slightly wet to some degree. But yeah, Piastri, drive of the day, tyre management, and that first lap overtake, well done to him. So that's it. I'll be back next week for my notebook for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Bye-bye.